You're gonna slap the taste out of my mouth?
Wait.
I'll kick the shit out of you right now.
You're gonna with one arm. You're gonna do that, Isaac?
Wait.
I'll break your other arm because I know for a fact you ain't nothing but a Bob Orton, okay? You have been faking this injury for weeks now. Okay, Isaac, we've given you the sympathy. Are you done yet? Are you ready to go back to work? Are you ready to just drop the whole arm injury angle? Seriously. Because if you are, then yes, let's go outside. We can do the double fisting. But otherwise, why don't you keep your fucking mouth shut? Quit ruining lives such as Ian's. Because Ian's a good kid, and you are a horrible influence on him. And as far as you, I don't know what you're laughing at, Sean.
Okay.
This is the end of Wrestling Audio Revolution as we know it.
Okay.
This is the end of me and you. So what you laughing about? Maybe I got to go over there and slap the taste out of your mouth too. Huh?
You might.
We got to slap the taste out of your mouth?
You really think you're a big shot?
Yeah, I think I'm a big shot.
Get out of his
this
fucking
guy ain't
face.
gonna do shit.
Wait.
Mike ain't gonna do shit.
Fucking gay.
His girlfriend might do something, but she's the only one with any
Shit.
balls in this
Mike,
fucking room.
Kill it. Kill
okay?
it. Kill it. Kill it.
Fucking
kill it.
kill you.
Kill it.
How are you doing, everyone? This is Luke Force. You're listening to Vintage Update on the road. I am just about to head off to attempt to get this exclusive interview. So I will be talking to you again when I get to the location. Hopefully I can pull this off. I'm not sure. But for right now, it looks like it's a go, and I am about to go link up with our very special guest. And you will hear from me in just a little bit here on this very special episode of Vintage Update on the road. If you can hear the sound of my voice right now, it means that this week's episode of Vintage Update is actually going to make air this week, instead of being deleted by Facebook.com the way that last week's episode was. But you know what? Maybe that's my fault. Maybe I did go too far, and Facebook, I do apologize, and I promise you, I will behave on this return episode of Vintage Update. Now, it's been 50 days since you last heard my sweet and tender voice. For those of you who have forgotten, I am the Grime Minister Luke Force. I am the creator of Wrestling Audio Revolution. And as you know, there is a lot of questions, a lot of things that need to be straightened out as it regards to the future of this show. So we will talk about that. We will talk about the season finale of Wrestling Audio Revolution, of course, all of the fallout, what has happened over the past 50 days, the conversations that I have had, the few conversations I've had with the members of the cast, and we will also attempt to get back to basics. Because maybe, you know what, I have gotten too crazy. I have gotten too goofy. I have gotten too much into the whole shock radio thing. Maybe it is time that I take a step back and that I bring you back to Wrestling Journalism 101. Bring it back to basics. Earlier today, you heard it at the very top of the show, I did attempt to get a very exclusive interview, an interview that I think everybody will find very, very interesting as we look forward into the future of Wrestling Audio Revolution. So as this week's episode of Vintage Update continues, you will hear exactly how that unfolded and the exclusive bombshell interview that I attempted to get. But for right now, we are going to do what we do best, and that is cover all of the top stories in the world of professional wrestling. Now let's kick it off with last night's Bound for Glory. The biggest match of the card revolved around Bobby Roode, who has just been built fantastic on television, challenging TNA heavyweight champion Kurt Angle. 3 days before Bound for Glory, though, wrestling legend Hulk Hogan took to the internet, took to Twitter, and had this to say about Bobby Roode, quote unquote. He's not the next guy. You know, they might think he is. Dixie Carter might think he is. The whole world right now might think he is the next guy, but he's not the next guy. If I had to bet money on anybody and really be serious about betting money on anybody, I'd say Jeff Hardy is the next guy if he keeps his act together, end quote. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Bobby Roode is not the future of TNA Wrestling. The future of TNA Wrestling is, drumroll please, Jeff Hardy. AJ Styles has responded to Hulk Hogan's dismissive comments regarding himself and Bobby Roode and others during the interview Thursday on Busted Open on Sirius XM Radio.
AJ wrote on Twitter, quote unquote, frustration setting in when your own guys bury the company that you have worked so hard for. ... Brother. Thanks, Dan the Mouth. Now, amen to that, AJ. Hulk Hogan burying Bobby Roode. It's been a great build on television. Everything's been great with Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode situation comes to us from our friends at F4WOnline.com. In the days leading up to Sunday's Bound for Glory pay-per-view, Bobby Roode was scheduled to win the TNA World Heavyweight title, despite Kurt Angle being injured and all the hype that went into this being Bobby Roode's time. Roode got screwed last night. Tonight's Raw Super Show was taped on Saturday night, the first ever Raw taping from Mexico. Here's a preview of what you can expect tonight. Randy Orton, Sheamus, and John Morrison versus Mark Henry, Cody Rhodes, and Christian. Eve Torres versus Natalya. CM Punk versus The Miz. Zack Ryder versus Jack Swagger. Dolph Ziggler versus Mason Ryan. And a little spoiler alert, John Cena and Jim Ross, who did make his return to Raw after being fired last week, taking on Alberto Del Rio and Michael Cole. Now, for those of you who are a little bit confused, Jim Ross, as a shoot, was never being fired from the company, but he was, as a shoot, being relieved of his duties as commentator yet again. That has been changed. It appears that there was a lot of negative feedback. Surprise, surprise. More news coming out of the WWE Mexico tapings. Triple H announced live to the SmackDown audience in Mexico City Sunday night that Mil Mascaras will be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame this coming year. WWE has released handheld video footage of the announcement, which features an appearance by the legendary luchador, and that will be featured on our webpage following this episode of Vintage Update going online.
Hello again.
Good to see you.
How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. And
Good.
you?
Very good. Beautiful day, is it not?
Oh,
Beautiful day out there, right? Very good. The little guy down here? Alright, yeah.
Tony Von Erich, Isaac Meadows, a man that will be stepping into my spot as the co-host of Wrestling Audio Revolution, a show and a concept and a name that I created. And he will be taking over my spot, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologize. He is completely green. He has absolutely no experience in the world of radio. So I do feel sorry for all of you, the Warzone, all of you loyal fans. And you know what? I think instead of me telling you all about Tony Von Erich and what he's about and giving you a real feeler on the guy, I think it's only fair that I now take you to the interview I did earlier today. An interview, a bombshell that will rock the world of wrestling audio revolution.
We are at the location, ladies and gentlemen, I had talked about earlier on the show. This is Vintage Update, by the way. On the road, I am Luke Force, and I talked about earlier in the show, hoping to bring you a very exclusive interview. I wasn't sure if I would be able to pull it off, but I am in the man's house right now. A young man who's actually gotten a lot of airtime recently on Vintage Update. A very nice young man, but a young man that is not without his share of problems. And a lot of them due to a man that is going to be taking over my position next month. Coney Funk Isaac Meadows, scheduled to be the new co-host of Wrestling Audio Revolution alongside my old friend Sean Cunningham. But ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to someone a lot nicer than Coney. All the members of his family are nicer than him, but I'd like to introduce you to a very nice man, a good friend of mine, Ian Meadows. Ian, it is so nice to have you here on Vintage Update.
Luke, thanks a lot for having me, bro. I appreciate it.
Now, Ian, we've been friends for a few years now, and we've had some good times together. And you know that me and your brother have had our differences lately, right?
Good times for sure, Luke. But yeah, I've heard there's been some trial and tribulation with you guys.
So I just wanted to thank you, first of all, for just having the courage to come on here and talk to me one-on-one, because I think our audience is very interested to know about you. We have talked about you, and I have actually received a few emails asking me about Ian Meadows and what is the story there. So I would like to start at the beginning, Ian. What were your childhood memories like growing up with Isaac? First of all, how old is Isaac and how old are you?
I'm 21. Ike's 23.
23, so he's 2 years older than you.
Yeah.
You guys, did you get along as youngsters?
Somewhat. We had our good times and our bad times.
Right. But can you remember some situations growing up when maybe there might have been some bad times?
I can remember being a young kid and having an oversized head when I was young. It kind of bothered me through a young age. But,
tragic.
Yeah, you could say it was pretty tragic. I got teased a lot,
And how did that make you feel?
Necessarily not too good.
Bad. It made you feel bad, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Did you feel quite self-conscious going out in public?
Yeah, I wore toques a lot. Turtlenecks were hard to fit. It was tough as a young one, having a big head like that. But
I think the audience and myself as well are very interested to know, how did your brother react to this time when you were having this hard time as a youngster and you were kind of self-conscious about your head? Did he sort of pull you aside and say, don't worry, little guy, it's okay?
Him and a couple buddies told me that my head was going to expand like a balloon and eventually just come off my head at a certain age, and it scared me.
I bet it did. I mean, you're just a youngster and your brother's telling you this kind of thing. Did you have nightmares at that time that might possibly happen?
Well, one instance there was a commercial for MTV and, or I believe then it was Much Music. Some guy's head just floated off and started going up into space, and next thing you know they said that was going to happen to me, and I was having flashbacks from it. I had to go get my dad.
Now, were there situations growing up when possibly he might have been a bit of a bully and kind of not been the best big brother?
For the most part he's pretty good, but
Were there situations when he was a bit of a bully, though? The audience wants to know. I don't want to know. It's not necessarily I want to know. The audience wants to know if there were times when he did bully. I mean, this is the guy that's going to be taking over my spot. You know that, right? So I think they just want to know, get a feeler on the guy, and know what kind of character he is. So I just want to know, growing up, if there were times when he was bullying. I know you're sitting there thinking maybe it looks like you might have thought of something.
Yeah, there's a couple instances. But,
did he hurt you, Ian?
Yeah, I remember being hurt a couple of times through numerous high kicks. He was pretty good at high kicking. He backed me up in the corners and just high kicked the shit out of me.
I do notice that you've got some of the green stuff laid out, and you seem to be not afraid to you utilize it during the... But again, I want you to feel at home. You are in your own home, so you should feel at home during this interview. And this is an exclusive, and I want people to really get a feel for you and get a feel for your brother, who will be taking over my spot next month as co-host of Wrestling Audio Revolution. So, what I'd like to know is, when was the first time that you saw marijuana or had any kind of experiences with it?
It's probably about 8, and I saw my brother. He was smoking a joint. We were in PEI.
Your brother?
Yeah.
And did you say you were 8?
8 or 9. I'm pretty sure I blacked out because there was a hot box and I was in the same room as him.
Thank you so much for being here. Now, just my final question to you is regarding your brother Coney Funk, Isaac Meadows. Do you ever remember a time in history or growing up when he might have possibly, exaggerated an injury? The audience wants to know, not me.
I remember one time he was younger, he broke his arm, from what I recall.
Now, did you ever see the x-rays?
I was pretty young. I'm pretty sure the x-rays were present at the time, but I'm not sure.
You just took his word on it. Did he act perhaps maybe like he was a little more hurt than he was? That's what I think what I'm trying to get at and what the audience wants to know.
Well, the guy jumped off a bench doing a wrestling move and landed on him. It didn't look too bad, but boy, he cried like a little banshee.
And he hollered, like something like that?
It was like...
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you heard it here, folks. It sounds like he has been faking injuries for a long time. And Isaac Meadows, I just wanted to let you know that I wish you nothing but luck as the new host of Wrestling Audio Revolution. But while you're there and you're pretending to be me, I am going to pretend to be you, the you that should have been, and I am going to be here with your brother, and we are going to work through this, and I promise you, he is going to be a changed man when I am done with him. Ian, thank you so much for joining Vintage Update.